All right, a little more questions, a few more questions here reviewing from chapter 9. Again, try these in your notebook before watching the solution. So these are about, are they geometric? And if yes, what's the ratio? All right, so geometric are multiply or divide patterns. And the common ratio is technically always the number you multiply by. So on this one, I think it looks like this is timesing by -4. Or if it switches negative to positive, then it's multiplying by -4. So that one would be yes, it's geometric, and the ratio would be -4. All right, on the other one, this one we're kind of dividing by 2, but then we switch to timesing by 2. So this would be not geometric. Okay, if you got rid of all this stuff, it would be, right? And just, I bring that up because the ratio here would be, even though it's dividing by 2, the ratio would technically be 1/2. So if the pattern had stopped there, it would be geometric with ratio of 1/2, but since it didn't, it's not geometric. All right, so diverging or converging, right? So if it's a geometric one and if it converges, it'll have a sum. If it diverges, it doesn't. So pause the video and see if you can remember these vocab words and try these questions. Okay, so converging means you get the terms get smaller. They get like closer to 0. Diverging means they get bigger. Okay, and diverging ones don't have a sum because the numbers get bigger and bigger and there's no way to add them up, right? So this first one is actually an example of converging because it'll have a sum because eventually these get smaller and smaller and eventually you're basically adding 0. So the sum formula is just 1 over 1 minus, no, A1 over 1 minus R. So for this sequence, or series, I should say, A1 is 3, and R looks like we're multiplying by -1/3, right? We're going negative, positive, and if you take this times like 1/3, you'll get 1/9, or take 1 times 1/3, you get 1/3. So R is -1/3. So our sum is going to be, if we do a little fraction work here, we have 3 over, this becomes a plus, and so you have 1 1/3, which is 4/3. Okay, and then I'm going to write it as 3 divided by 4/3. Okay, and then multiply by the reciprocal, so 3 over 1 times 3 over 4. So we get 9/4 as our sum to that pattern, which kind of makes sense because, you know, these first two together are 2, and now we have 2 1/3, and this is just a little bit more than 2, so it kind of makes sense that that's the right answer. All right, I'm gonna have to scroll down a little bit here. This one is also converging. They're getting smaller. So we'll have a sum. And so I do the same formula. We're going to do the sum is A1 over 1 minus R. So A1 is just 4. And R looks like we're dividing 2. But again, R is the multiplied number. So we're going to say we're multiplying by half. So we have 1 minus 1/2. So we're going to have 4 over 1/2. Right? 1 minus 1/2 is just 1/2. And then, so I'm going to do 4 divided by 1/2, which just becomes 4 times 2 over 1. So that's just 8. So our sum there would be 8, which looks about right. Right there we have 7.5. So if we kept going, our numbers would get smaller and smaller, but each little piece would eventually get us up to a sum of 8. One last final geometric sum one. This one is different because it's finite, right? This one has 10 terms. So even though it has a ... here, it's finite because it has 10 terms. So pause the video and see if you can figure this out. All right, so I would go to my formula sheet first. And so for finite geometric, the sum of n terms is, let's see, it's A1 times 1 minus R to the n all over 1 minus R. So A1 for us is 1. R is 2 because we're multiplying by 2 each time. And then n is the number of terms, and we have 10 terms. So it's going to be 2 to the 10th. And then 1 minus R would be 1 minus 2. So the way I do this on my calculator is I usually do the denominator first because you can usually figure that out pretty easy. And then up top, I type it in all at once. So I'll do 1 and then in parentheses 1 minus 2 to the 10th. So when I enter it in my calculator, it looks like that. So we get negative 1023. So our sum, let's see, would be negative 1023 up top, and we divide by negative 1, so our sum is 1023. So if you add up 10 terms in that pattern, we get 1023. All right, that's all I got for Chapter 9 review. Thanks for watching.